Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's doing okay today on this PD day. Um, I'm gonna have you. Shush. Um, Sorry, children interruptions. You all know how that goes. We're gonna get started this morning on part two of our training that is really dedicated to how to.
Oh shoot.
That's okay. How do you utilize the resources that you have checked out for concurrent teaching? We have done the research. We have kind of figured out what makes this challenging and what we need to purchase and what we need to provide that will make it doable. And so we want to go through several of those strategies, best practices today. I would say if you have not already picked up your technology and you are returning to hybrid, definitely would suggest that you do that this week so you can begin to play with those and plug them in. As someone who's relatively comfortable with technology, I will say it took me a couple of days to really smoothly transition from my DocCam to my smartboard to my, and so just playing with that and being really comfortable navigating the technology is half the battle. And if you want to, yes, you can pick up today. Folks are in the building from IT to help with that, as well as other days this week. So please, please, please get those in advance. Don't let the first time you plug up be when you actually come back to the building. And then we can help you troubleshoot all of that virtually or in person when you return for your phased in week. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean this morning to get started. I will jump in periodically just around some things that I have learned trying to prepare for this on a couple of slides. And then if you have questions, obviously we will take those at the end. But I want to say most importantly, you're going to be fine. We are going to support you. And this can be done. And we purchased everything that you need to be able to do it and do it at a high level. Turning it over to you, Sean.
All right, thanks, Dr. Hancock. All right, guys. I'm going to share my screen here real quick and get into the presentation so you guys can see what we've got. Hopefully, we see a screen that says hybrid teaching as it's loading. Sorry. Okay, loading. Okay, hybrid teaching PD connecting with Roomies and Zoomies. Okay, so just a quick overview. We're going to talk about resources, materials, things that we have, classroom hardware and setup. Just a real quick review because we've already done that PD already. We knocked that one out. Identifying your groups and their needs, how to support both groups, best practices, and then we'll do like a Q&A at the end. You can put questions in the chat. I'm not great keeping up with the chat. I will do my best, but we'll do a Q&A at the end. All the materials you guys need will be housed on the instructional technology website, and I'm actually going to put that in the chat. So let me get to the chat here real quick. I believe that is the right one. If it's not, I'll put it in there later. That the site has this presentation on it. To be totally honest, APS put together a really good presentation, and we've taken a lot of stuff from their presentation that makes sense for us. That talk about like different tactics and strategies to engage students who are virtual and in your classroom at the same time. It's really, really detailed. And so there's a lot of step-by-step instructions on that one. So we're not still going to go into all of that because that's available via their presentation. We created a sign up genius too for all this week. My job is to come around and help people get their equipment set up, and that's what I plan on doing. We can do this virtually if you just want to have questions that you want a 30-minute dedicated session and I have questions and I need answers. We can work together. If you want me to come by your room, I can do that too via the sign up genius as well. Just let me know what you need and I will do everything I can to help you out. And if I can't fix it, then we will find somebody who can. The other things available at this site is the concurrent teaching materials from the last session, and this is all about the hardware setup, how to get your webcam working, your document camera, and the things about the iPads. Again, as usual, please don't try to write everything down. Like I said, everything you need will be available to you guys, including this exact presentation. So definitely put questions in the chat or feel free to ask them at the end. I will hang out for as long as necessary to make sure that we get everybody's questions answered, or at least moving in the right direction. Okay, so getting to it. Who are you talking to? We're going to have two groups of students when we get back into the building. We're going to have roomies and zoomies. Roomies will be the students who you see face-to-face and in person, the students who are in the room with you. Zoomies will be your online students who you see, you know, on the alternating days. Also, just to put out there too, just with the uncertainty that we have, it is quite possible that you may see a student on one day and not see them the next. So just be prepared to be highly flexible as far as who your roomies and zoomies are. And think about when you're designing the lessons, you want to make sure you make lessons that connect with both groups of people. You don't want to spend your whole time just on Zoom and ignoring the kids who are in your room, and you don't want to spend the whole time talking to your physically present students and ignoring your students online. So we want to make sure we make connections with both groups. We are not going to watch this video right now. This is the video you guys have seen before on what these tools all look like when they work together. So if you have questions about what it looks like also, the video walks through how to use your webcam, the document camera, as well as the smartboard, and how all of these things integrate together. But again, you guys have already seen that video, so we're not going to watch that one at this point in time, but it's a good one to check out if you're curious as to how these tools work together. Hey, everyone. Oops, that's one we're not watching. Okay. Just quick reminders, because I know this is going to come up a lot. The webcam is really, really important, because the webcam is how your students are going to hear you. The built-in microphones in your computers are not great. Sorry, I'm moving the cat. The microphones in your computer are not great. They have a range of about 3 to maybe 5 feet. So when you are walking around your room, you're going to want to change the microphone in your Zoom to your webcam. And so when you click on the little arrow next to the microphone, that will change it over to the microphone. When you click on the arrow next to the video camera, that will change the picture. Really, really important that we just make sure you have to turn them both on to utilize the webcam to its full potential. So you just want to make sure everybody can hear you. The webcam microphones are really good also. In the video that we're not watching, as you've already seen, I recorded that video in Miss Romo's room using a webcam microphone. So it does have pretty good range as far as that is concerned. So that's the webcam. What do you use the webcam for? Well, it's great for one, just the microphone itself, so everybody can hear you. That's going to be really important. Classroom discussions, it will allow students to see their peers and make them feel like they're a part of the conversation when they are on Zoom. You can use it for small group work, station teaching, and keep in mind that in a pinch, the webcam can also double as a document camera. Okay, so just a really good flexible tool for us, you know, so you can use it even if you just want to just model what you're doing in the classroom or something like that. So the webcam is a really good one to look at. The document camera, it's great for modeling instructional tasks, maybe showing students how to work a problem. If you're a science teacher, you could use it to demonstrate a lab. If you just want to focus on the hands, you can lock the zoom so it's not constantly fading in and out, you know, what have you. Manipulatives. So let's say that you're demonstrating something for your younger students, you know, via the document camera while the kids are working on it live in the classroom. You can also show them how to use it via the document camera to your Zoomies. The iPad is going to be really good for us too. A couple things with the iPad is one, the hope and the goal is that you have your Zoomies up and running at all times so you can see them and they feel connected so you can see them at all times. So the iPad can double as a second screen. A relatively new event for us also is that you can now stream your iPad directly through Zoom. So whatever is visible on your iPad, no matter what the program is, can be viewed through Zoom also. Basically, when you click share your screen, and this is as in like 2 weeks ago, so if you haven't heard this, here we go. Basically, when you click the green button, the share screen, when you share it, you now have iPad or tablet as an option, so people can see what's happening on your screen, and you can show them directly what's going on. Planning, okay. Really, really important. Google Classroom is still going to be vital to what we're doing. This needs to be the touchstone that both classes have in common. So your roomies and your Zoomies should be checking Google Classroom every day. And it should be something that we update every day so that everybody is on board. It's something we've been using, you know, since March of last year. So it's a great place for our students to start and to be familiar with what's happening in your classroom. Also, whatever you're planning on doing in the classroom, keep it simple. Stick to the software and programs that you know to start off. That's just a recommendation. I mean, if you want to go crazy, go ahead. But we got a lot of stuff going on. At this point in time, I would keep it simple. Stick to the programs that you know very well, so you're not, you know, trying to reinvent the wheel every time you're creating a lesson. don't overwhelm yourself, and try to keep instructional activities that can be used by both groups. You want to try and create, you don't want to have to create a lesson for your roomies and a lesson for your Zoomies. You want to create something that saves time and work for you and that connects with both groups of people. How to break down a class period. Dr. Hancock, I think this is the one that you wanted to address.
Yeah. So in terms of what Sean just said, if you think about your class period, what you don't want to have to do is constantly be going back and forth, which is why one thing that works for both groups, it might be a different format, is really ideal. So let's just say you have a 70-minute class period, right? The first thing I would suggest is that you start with your opening, your warm up like you traditionally do. That's the same question, the same activity. It might be on your smart board. And so folks at home are looking at it, you know, via your connection to your smart board, and folks in your room, your roomies, are looking at it, you know, straight ahead in front of them. And the folks on your Zoom, they may be answering that in your chat, right? The folks in front of you, they may be answering that on a warm up, but the actual activity or question is exactly the same. The second thing you will go into is your direct instruction, right? So when you think about what is the content, the delivery I want to give, you're going to do that via your smart board, your Google Slides. You will decide if you want students to see the presentation at that time or if you want them to see you via your webcam, and that's a choice that you will make. I would suggest during that time that they see the actual presentation and they hear you, right? Then you go into your whole group, which is modeling, demos, questioning. You could do that via the chat, digitally, or an actual whiteboard, but all of that is happening simultaneously with that group, and it doesn't require you to go back and forth between technology. Right? That's the first half of your class period, essentially. This is the time where I would say, okay, now I'm going to transition. Use your music, connect your webcam. They're going to follow you as you walk through the room. And then you try to create those instructional activities that were used for both groups on the front end. Now you're moving into your pieces that are a little more differentiated for your second period of time. Sean, can you switch to the next slide for me? Thank you. So once we've done that, give yourself 5 minutes or so to make that transition as you've done in the past. So many of you have been in your classrooms observing. I see that you use music as a transitional period. It's also going to be the 5 to 10 minutes that you may use to distribute the kit of manipulatives or the plastic bag for the students for that day, right? Or to tell those kids to take that out. It's already under their desk. So you want a little bit of transition time at the midway point. Then you can think about your small group discussions. You can choose if you want to do that via Zoom. You can put your Zoomies on the smartboard screen, so your roomies and Zoomies are looking at each other. That would be really nice. And then you can also get them in breakout rooms if you choose. For your older students, they will likely have their devices already out. So your roomies and Zoomies can be in an electronic breakout room via Zoom. Now you're going to go into your directions for independent practice. You want students to see you as you're giving those directions, right, via your webcam. And then you transition to your independent practice. That may very well be paper and pencil for your little ones in the room. It could be a Google Doc. Totally up to you. Catch your breath. Decide you want to check in on your kids in front of you, 6 feet, of course, stay socially distanced, or you want to check in on your Zoomies. You know, Keisha, you have any questions? You understand what you need to do, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say break your class period up into essentially 30-minute blocks, right? 30 minutes, we're all together. I'm presenting to you. I'm doing my warm up. I'm going to model for you, but all of that is via one format. Second part of the class, start to break up into those small groups, discussions, independent practice, and figure out what the platform or platforms are for that. Again, what's on your paper and pencil, if you have 6-year-olds, is exactly what's in your Google Classroom on a Google Doc for your Zoomies, right? So you're not duplicating efforts. You're using the same actual questions. You're just putting it out to the students in 2 different formats. And then you're going to close quickly with your review, check for understanding, that everyone understand. You might put up a question, check that they got the concept, and go on. But you have to build in time for you to not get overwhelmed with this process, right? So where are the moments in class where you can catch your breath? Where are the moments in class where everyone's looking at the same thing? But then where are the moments in class where we're truly taking advantage of having kids in front of us with that immediate feedback if they don't understand, with those immediate corrections, etc. So I just wanted to, having played with this a little bit, that's what felt more comfortable after a couple of days of doing it, is to really break the class up into segments. And this will all be on the website, as Sean mentioned.
Doctor, I'd like to add one thing here real quick too. A teacher brought up a great point, is that if putting your Zoom on a smart board makes more sense for you, so you can see the kids as you walk around the room, do whatever you need to do to be comfortable in your room. I thought it was a great idea to have the Zoomies, on the iPad for a minute, and then you can very easily just drag it over to the smart board. So then as the teacher is walking around the room using the webcam, that way they can see their Zoom students very easily on their smart screen, on their smart board. Just whatever helps you get through your day, it makes your job easier. You should definitely look into playing around with different practices and trying these things as we go along.
And there's not a wrong way, guys. We're all doing our best to figure this out, but what we don't want to do is just sit at our desks and teach from Zoom from our desks, right? Like that defeats the purpose of students who are coming to us face to face. And so really mixing and matching the opportunities and the strategies we're suggesting is super important to get the most bang for the buck.
Okay, so now we're going to look at just different strategies for engaging both groups. So tools for our classroom discussion. So let's say you're having a classroom discussion and you're trying to figure out how to get everybody involved. There's different ways you can do that. You can create a Google Doc and make it collaborative, or a Google slideshow, and tell everybody to put their thoughts and ideas and actually type them in, especially for older students. So we could do it that way. Jamboard is a really good tool. Full disclosure, I need to work more with Jamboard, but it is a digital whiteboard and it's in your Waffle and G Suite. Everybody has access to it. Nearpod, they have Collaborate boards, and we also have Padlets for everybody. So everybody has access to a Padlet account if you'd like to use one also. If you need an access to Nearpod and you don't have it, let me know and we can get you on board with that one also. And then also Zoom has breakout rooms, obviously. For classroom discussions, you can put Zoomies and Rubies in the same breakout room if you want to put them on Zoom at the same time. So there's a variety of ways to do classroom discussions. So just trying to think of ways to incorporate our online students with our physical students. Writing, there's a lot of stuff for writing as well. For creative writing, for example, Foti is a site that will turn student writing into an old-timey looking newspaper article. I thought that was pretty creative to use. There's also mind maps and digital maps from Read Write Think, which is NCTE, I believe. But you could, one option is to create a physical handout you give your students in the room, and then you use the PDF or the forms from Read Write Think, and actually have your students do that online. So you still have students working on the same mind maps or the same brainstorming activities, even though they are not in the same room together. Again, this is the Read Write Think slide. Instructional games, you can play games with your students, even though we are distanced as well. Quizlet and Quizzes is a great one to use. Kahoot works as long as the students can see the screen. So if you share your screen, you can still play Kahoot with your kids, whether they're in the room or online. Nearpod has a variety of games as well. Time to Climb is a really good one that pits kids against each other as to who can answer the questions the quickest and who can climb the mountain and get all the answers and activities correct first. So there's a variety of instructional games that we can play with our Roomies and Zoomies. Formative assessments. Google Forms obviously is still a way you can ask a variety of questions, short answer, multiple choice, fill in the blank. Nearpod has a wide variety of assessments as well. Google Slides, you can create slides and create space within those slides, make a copy for each student so they can handle each Google slide as if it's their own, bank of questions, what have you. Or even Flipgrid. Have students explain their answers. For a math class, you could have the students work out the problem and explain the steps to you. Same goes for science. I know this is difficult to do, but through Flipgrid, it'd be a great way to have the kids explain why they did what they did as a formative assessment as well. Modeling math problems, if you had a document camera, using the document camera, you could actually show the kids how to work a problem. Jamboard, once again, digital whiteboard. Kami is the program we have for our students. All our students have access to it. They can annotate directly on PDFs. You can stream your iPad or iPads, which are available for all staff if you'd like one, on how to actually work a math problem, what have you. Screencastify, something all teachers have access to. Students do not, but if we have any extra licenses and that's something you really want, I can look into that. Or even Flipgrid. Once again, having students explain why they did what they did as they are walking you through a math problem. And so then as far as using the Roomies and Zoomies, once again, Whiteboard.fi is an online whiteboard that a lot of our EA teachers are using currently. I don't know a whole lot about that one. I've looked into it a little bit, but it's another good whiteboard that we can use with our students as well. And I think this is the one you want to talk about, Dr. Hancock. I'm not sure about roomies and zoomies and manipulatives. I don't know if you wanted this one or you want me to.
Sure, I can touch on this one. Just the idea that we have provided for most of our students individual manipulative kits. And so at the time that you give out those kits to students in the room and we have extras for students who are returning, that would be the perfect time to use a similar digital manipulative with your students who are at home on Zoom. And so these are just some links and websites to be able to do that. The other option is to use your DocCam at this point. So students are also seeing you utilize those manipulatives from Zoom, and then the ones in the classroom have them on hand. So that was the point of this one.
Okay, all right. Okay, and so collaboration, how can you get your roomies and zoomies to work together? Once again, in breakout rooms, you could actually put your students who are in the room in Zoom and put them in a breakout room as well. Google Docs and slides, once again, they can work collaboratively. So you do not have to have a roomie and a zoomie together in order to work collaboratively. Jamboards can be shared. Flipgrid, you could have students make comments on each other's ideas or thoughts or process as well. So this is another way that we can try to bring students together, which again is going to be one of the points of us coming back to the building, is to try and create a degree of normalcy for our students and make them feel like they're once again part of a community. So collaboration is going to be like a really important aspect of what we're going to be doing. Reading practice, we have immersive readers with Nearpod and Kami. So those are really good things we could use. Google Slides, we started doing this before we left, creating read alouds through Google Slides. You can record your audio as you are, so you can record audio and save it as an MP3 and insert it within a Google Slide. So it'll read each page to the students. And so when working with roomies, just some tips that have come up out of APS is use headsets when available. Keep students muted unless they're reading. And muting is going to be important just so we get a lot of feedback and things of that nature. Zoomies should use headsets if they are sharing a space with a sibling, and just putting that one out there. It's just different practices.
It's 500 and
somebody's not muted.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna hit mute all here real quick. Okay. So annotation. So when annotating, you can use Kami to annotate. Google Slides and Google Docs can be used for annotation as well. And it's funny, that's important to remember too about annotation stuff. This is a really good one. Is annotation could literally just be about anything. It could be shapes, highlighting. So you could put like a little box around materials in Google Slides, things of that nature. It could be comments. And I also have a link in here, the Google Slider doc, how to turn a Google slide into, how to turn a PDF into an editable Google slide so that you can put that information out to your students as well. Annotating with voice comments. Even this would be great for our younger students. Kami allows students to leave audio on a PDF, so they can just record their voices. Google Slides is the same thing. Flipgrid, obviously, you could have a student hold up a poem and respond to the poem and discuss it, what have you. So they can leave audio in response to a text as well. And there are two Google Chrome extensions that are good with audio. Mote and Talk and Comment are also extensions that allow people to leave audio messages as well. If there are any extensions you're interested in utilizing, that definitely needs to be handled by the tech team. But when you have a sense of urgency behind it, if you want to let me know, then I can start like bothering people and things of that nature. That's what I'm good at. But if there's an extension that you would like to use for Google Chrome, definitely let us know. Drawing and art. If you want to use art, there's a lot of options as well. So in addition to having your students, your roomies draw in the classroom, your students can draw online. We have Google Draw, which is part of G Suite. Everybody has access to that. Google Slides has a scribble function as well that allows free hand drawing. Students can incorporate shapes, and different things into their art as well for our younger students. And keep in mind that we still have access to Adobe Spark Post and Adobe Video. Spark Post is a really powerful image editor, and it's something that we've used as last year. Our first grade used Adobe Spark and did a great job with their recipe cards. So, I mean, we can go as grade wise, we go as young as first grade has used Adobe Spark in the past for art with really good results. So there needs to be a lot of scaffolding, but it's definitely something that we can use with all of our students. And so then just a little bit too here with the Roomies and the Zoomies, just other ideas about how you can do different activities through like art and drawing. You can have students like count money. You can use Jamboard for a variety of activities as well. So like if our students are working on Google Draw, working with like counting money, what have you, your students in the room can be working with counting money as well as an activity. So just great ways to really connect students and have them working on the same thing, even though they aren't in the same room at the same time. Another really good assignment was creating fake news. I thought this was a really good one too. Just research an idea or an article, and then they could use Flipgrid or Foti and create their own fake newscast, around an article as well. And this is just a really detailed and good way to get that information out to your students. And just some more strategies as well that we look at from different groups. I'm trying to look through this one real quick. Okay. And so then the other thing here real quick is that just some ideas and tips. We are not the first group to go through this, which is great. So from we've learned some things from talking to people in other schools and other districts about what they've learned about this process. And so we're just going to share just a few ideas about what we've learned from these different groups. Basically, keep things simple. Try, especially in the beginning, when you're trying to keep Roomies and Zoomies, working, just keep it as simple as possible. Make things simple and easy for your audience. Try to break things up, chunk it, as Dr. Hancock said, maybe like 30 minutes at a time, like 30 minutes transition. This would be a really good thing to work on, as far as like, breaking things up in a variety of activities. Ask students what is, and I think this is a great one. Asking students what is and what is not working for them is just a great way to improve as an instructor. Asking them, what do you like? What do you dislike? What is working well? What isn't working well? I think this is a great practice just to be aware, especially in this environment when we're all honestly learning with the students. So this is a great thing for us to be doing. Build in time for students to ask questions. And I think this is a good one too, just because there's so much coming at us and so much coming at our students that it's important to take a time out and just touch base and see how everybody's doing with all the materials, make sure that everybody understands what's going on, and making sure that technology is not becoming a barrier to what we're trying to do. I think these are really good things to do. And then try to make sure that your students are collaborating. Because once again, this has been a tough time for everybody, adults and students. And it's important that students have time to work together, to talk to their peers, to make connections, and feel like that they are a part of the Drew community as well. Okay. Oh yeah. And then basically make sure that you are making contact with both groups. And truthfully, if you have a room full of students, it might be easy to neglect the students on Zoom. I mean, it just happens, but it's going to be really important to make sure that you are making connections with both groups of students so that they are getting the proper amount of instruction. But the important thing here is do what works for you. Like I said, I personally would probably have my students on my smartboard a lot of the time, just so I could see them as a reminder. Oh yeah, there's other people I should be concerned with, just in case. But just whatever works for you is the best way to do this as far as what we're doing going forward.
Sean, can I jump in here with something that should make this a lot easier? We have also ordered laptop stands. They have 2 shelves on them, one for your laptop, to be at eye level, so that as a teacher, when you're teaching the kids in front of you, you literally just have to look to your right to see your zoomies if you've decided not to drag them onto your smartboard. And then it has another level on you where you can put your dot cam. So everything will be right there for you, kind of like a little technology station that will make it easier for you to kind of pivot as needed during that time. And so we'll check those out upon return. That'll be a part of the reopening onboard process.
Okay, great. Okay. All right. Also, I think this is going to adjust the timing of your lesson. Maybe start with your roomies 3 minutes earlier, just so you can make sure that you touch base, or I'm sorry, your zoomies 3 minutes earlier, so you make sure you touch base with them before you get involved in the lesson with your roomies as well. But you do want to make sure that you're engaging both groups of people at all times. I think that's going to be a really important aspect to what we're doing going forward. Last one here, Google Classroom. It's going to be really important that we keep utilizing Google Classroom with so much going on. You know, one of the things that I've heard from teachers in other counties is that there is a absenteeism. You don't know who's going to be there and who isn't. If they have multiple siblings and one of them is in a house that gets quarantined, that house will be quarantined. So it's just going to be really, really important that we maintain Google Classroom as our one-stop shop. This should be the place where everybody goes to get everything they need for the day. Just to make sure that we keep everything organized and that everybody knows expectations and what assignments are due. And it's great. It's just gonna be really important for us to maintain the Google Classroom the way we've been doing it. It's been great so far, and we just need to keep doing what we have been doing going forward.
To Sean's point, if everything is in there, right, this is a perfect place for you to catch your breath, right? Students who are with me, if you're my younger students, okay, I'm now going to disseminate your laptops. I want everyone to log into their Google Classrooms, which they now know how to do, right? Students who are at home, I want you to log into Google Classroom. We're now going to start working on our independent work for 10 minutes. You know, it gives you a chance to just take a minute, catch your breath, and be able to say, okay, do you have questions? Sean, do you have questions? Everybody feel okay? And just, you have to build in that time. I can't say that enough for you to recuperate, because going back and forth, it can be tiring, right? But if you know that these are the points within my lesson where students are going to work independently, I have 3 minutes to just catch my breath, and then I start to check in on them. I think that will make your lives a lot easier if you know what those parts are throughout the lesson.
Okay. And again, try to keep the lesson plan consistent for your roomies and your zoomies. You want to try and make this as easy for yourself as possible. It's good. It could be really easy to go down different rabbit holes. You don't want to do that. You want to keep things consistent, and you want to make sure that it's straightforward for yourself and your roomies and your zoomies. The more complicated it is, the more problems you're going to have. So you want to try and keep it as simple as possible. And again, Google Classroom is a great way to keep everything together. I'm going to put a link here to a Sign Up Genius. I'm going to stop sharing here real quick. I'm going to put a link here in the Sign Up for a Sign Up Genius. I am available to help people out for 30-minute blocks. Sorry, I'm copying that real quick. For 30-minute blocks. So if you need help either virtually, I can paste that right there. Okay, it is. So it's in the link the chat right now. If you need help virtually or physically, either one, I can help out as far as either setting your rooms up or with the technology, or if you want questions about a program and you need time to talk to somebody, or you want to test out your Zoom. Maybe you set out your room and you need a test subject. That's me. I will be the student. Just send me the link and we'll make sure that your webcam is audible throughout the entire room. Just let me know. But just go ahead and use the sign up, and I can come by for 30 minutes. And this is available today through Friday.
Sean, can you drop the instructional technology website in the chat one more time so people can see the recordings, the previous ones, where they are? Thank you. Yep. Keep in mind, folks, again, all of us coaches, myself included, we are happy to be your pretend students on your return week so you can get comfortable, so we can test sound, all of that. But we have tested all of these. Your webcams are mic'd. There are speakers in the ceiling, and so there should not be any major issues with sound. But if you just want to double check and make sure that's the case, please reach out to any of us. We're happy to help you do that, and happy to pop in. I will be in the building as well, so I'm happy to help you do that, socially distanced, of course, and help you plug up anything that you need. So there's lots of support on site. But once you get your stuff and get comfortable, play with it. You can't break it. It'll only help you be more comfortable and do it better when day one comes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really important to try and get as comfortable as possible with these tools, as Dr. Hancock said. And initially, everybody was freaked out by Zoom. Now everybody's awesome with Zoom. Same thing goes like the webcams. The webcams and everything else, there is a learning curve. But once you get it down, it's really simple and really straightforward.
And I would suggest that once you set up on your cart or your stand, that is your setup, that you don't have to continuously plug in and plug out every day. You kind of leave your setup as is. You disconnect your computer when you're leaving for the day, but that you keep that set up because your webcams do pivot. And so you can turn them in any direction in which you want them to face, as long as you decide, I want mine to be on my laptop, or maybe I want mine to be on my smart board, and then let it be.
Yep. And so then the last bit here, Dr. Hank, I'm going to drop the link to the Google form, and then we can handle questions if that's okay with you. Okay.
Yep.
So all right. So everybody, I went ahead and dropped a link to a Google form just for today's attendance, so we can kind of keep track of who we've talked to so far. So please fill out that form. So we can record, who's been in the different sessions. And aside from that, I think at this stage in the game, we can just kind of field questions that teachers or staff may have about expectations or any help you may need.